Andy Cooper from RMS Motoring, and this is the Mustang Mach-E. This one is in what they call carbon grey. It is a special edition all-wheel drive called the first edition. So dual motor, 350 horsepower, 98 kilowatt hour battery, 88 kilowatt usable, whatever that means. It's the total capacity, I suppose, that you can actually charge up. And I think it looks excellent. We'll come to the name because I'm sure everyone's thinking, Mustang? What? Park that. We'll talk about that when I'm driving the car, but I think it looks pretty cool. And there is some Mustang influence here as well. So there's no Ford badges apart from just up at the top of the windscreen here. It's all pony badges. Ford's always obviously aiming this at the premium market. The Mustang is a premium product, and that's where they're going with. They would need to. It's 40k starting from this car. This one, as tested, is about 58 for the first edition. You get your pony here. Got some nice black, piano black or gloss black detailing. Mustang style lights. Nice gloss black trim. This is the options that you get with the first edition car. The trim around here is gloss black as well. 19-inch wheels, amber corners, very USDM, like that on the grey car. I don't think it would work as well on the likes of, you can get this in grabber blue. Grabber blue is that cool colour that you might see a lovely V8 Mustang in. It actually looks great in this car as well, but I wouldn't have the amber corners. But I think it looks quite smart with the black and the grey, goes well together. Works with a pano roof as well, so you have black up here, some black trim. It looks great. No door handles. You've got a button and this wee handle here to open and close. It's very responsive, it works really well. Sort of reminds me of the days of opening a TVR underneath the wing mirror. Also very USDM here. We have numbers. Forget your keys, you can type a number in. Okay, not a big deal I think, but it's that sort of US type approach to things. You can see the roofline sort of runs down here as well. You get this sort of smaller window here in the C-pillar type area, but I think this is sort of like a visual illusion to make it more coupe-like. But the roof actually does run higher here, which is great because it gives you all this headroom inside the car. I think from the front end and from the profile, the car looks great. We're going to flip it around and show you it the other way around. Have a look at the boot as well, how exciting. Oh, and it has a frunk. Ta-da! Very useful. So I've spun the car around. What do you think of the back end? Oh, come on. The vertical lights have to get the juices flowing. Feels a wee bit more Mustang, does it? Big pony on the back. Quite a steep rake on the boot lid. You have this sort of flat area. They're trying to be sporty here with these lines. But there's probably not much that you can do in that shape of a car. Boot's pretty good. 400 litres, whatever that means. Kind of useful. Quite a high floor, but fairly usable. Split folding rear seats as well. I think it opens up to just over 1,000 litres or something like that, but pretty usable. Sadly, you have to do this arm assisted. Put the seats back up again, but these doors are so quick to open on the button. It's pretty sweet. Inside, got all these funky noises going on. The soundtrack's pretty cool actually. There's sort of like a 80s soundtrack vibe going on. We like the 80s styling in the Hyundai, like the 80s noises in this. But yeah, it's a pretty nice place to be in here. 15.5-inch portrait screen in the dash. It's really responsive, got Apple CarPlay and stuff like that. Heated steering wheel is standard across the range, fantastic, and heated front chairs. This has an optional interior, sort of like they're quite flat seats, not much of a bolster to them, but so far in driving I found them pretty comfortable. Wireless charging, some sort of cubbies and bins here. Nice big cubby in here, of course, just with the fact that you don't have to have any sort of drivetrain gearbox gubbins in here, that you have all this space to stow things absolutely everywhere. Even though you have a big screen here, unlike a Tesla, we have a lovely big display up front as well on the driver's side. Ford's just mounted this small tablet here, and it's just perfect. It just tells you all the driver information you need to know, your speed, your charge and stuff like that. It's not held over on a display over here, it's right in your sight line. The other way to do that is of course with a heads-up display, which this car does not have. I don't necessarily miss it. Other interior things, this one has sort of like nice stitched leather. Has this strange sort of, it looks like a sound bar at the top here, and that runs right across the dash, the sort of speaker cover. And I actually think there are speakers underneath there, and then we have sort of a fake carbon fibre, but generally it fits as a Ford. This looks great. The steering wheel is starting to heat up now. This is the great thing about electric cars. You can just turn all the stuff on. You don't need to be sitting idling anywhere. Everything just works on the button, because it's freezing today. But very sensible layout. We do actually have some physical buttons on the steering wheel for controlling the radio and CarPlay and the lane assist and stuff like that. And of course it has adaptive cruise, which I'll talk about later. It has some buttons stuck down here as well. You can turn on automatic lights and all, but strangely that is way underneath the dash and it's not backlit. And I was actually trying to find if it had automatic headlights last night, which it does, but it's hidden under there. But once it's set, it's no big deal. But yeah, really nice. Then you have this knob in the centre console to control your drive modes, PRND, electric handbrake and stuff like that. Good job, Ford. And then of course with the panoramic roof, it's nice and bright in here as well. Even though outside in Northern Ireland today, it is just a few shades of grey. Back in here, it's pretty sweet. Flat floor across the bottom, USB-C and USB-A port in the centre console here, besides some vents, and it has the same up front. Okay, so the floor wouldn't be the lowest, my knees are up a bit, but I'm 6'1", and I have plenty of space around me, loads of headroom. This would be a comfortable place to be. I can tuck my feet actually nicely under the driver's seat. I could probably sit in here on a run for 100 miles down to Dublin, no problem. Nice armrest there, a couple of cup holders as well. Really good job back here. It's pretty comfortable. I think it's about time we took this thing out on the road. Now this, how cool is that? Some sort of random awesome 80s noise plays when you get in to say we're ready to go. That's pretty cool. So I'm out in probably one of the dullest days of the year. It's like 5 degrees outside, it's grey skies, it's grim. But in here, I am pretty comfortable. I have my heated steering wheel on, heated seats on. It's great. You can control those options through the large 15.5-inch portrait screen in the centre of the dash, but those options are always on screen, so it's really easy to get at it. The driving position is great. You're slightly elevated, but very clear view of the dials in front of me. I can see my speed very clearly and what the car is doing. In fact, what I have in front of me, and in the great glass house actually that there is range, and then stuff to do with like the adaptive cruise and the sort of lane centering, that sort of stuff, speed, and then the speed limit, and then some very basic icons like lights and that sort of stuff. But it's really logically laid out, and you feel at home as soon as you get in. On the move then, and interestingly, the steering feel of this car is much better than the Hyundai. The car itself actually feels lighter, but I'll just check on the actual weights of the two cars. But this seems to handle bumps and rucks in the road much better and much more composed fashion than the Hyundai. This can deal with a bit more abuse down a B road as well. I sort of found that we have to think of the weight that these cars are carrying, the 2 ton plus range, that's a lot to ask of the springs and dampers, and if that's just not tuned right, the car can lose its composure, I suppose. And certainly this is a lot more engaging chassis than the Hyundai, and maybe it is because it's slightly lighter. I don't know. But good job Ford. First impressions are great. It's just it's actually quite a nice place to be. Everything has it does have a nice premium feel to it, and it would need to, wouldn't it, to justify starting at 40 grand. Performance in this car is great. As I said before, we have this dual motor setup, so it's all-wheel drive. It has no issue with putting the power down. Although interestingly, on a greasier road, I actually felt the chassis move a bit, and I just wonder how Ford, again, dialed in something a wee bit more dynamic into this car. Apparently you can put this sideways. I'm probably not going to find that out on my test today. I'm not going to get a chance to take it to a track, so I'm not going to get a chance to find out. But I can see how they've maybe tried to, as much as you can, inject something a bit more dynamic into an EV. So that's really interesting, and that's definitely a big plus point, because EVs are generally just point-and-shoot vehicles. I'll tell you one thing I actually quite like, just on an A road here at the moment, and the car obviously has adaptive cruise control, and you can set the distance from the car in front and all the rest, and lane centering, but it also has another mode in the cruise which lets you select will it map to the speed limits. So at the moment I'm in a 60, but if the speed limit changed to 40 miles an hour and I was in the cruise control, it would automatically detect that I was moving to 40 and slow the car down appropriately. Now, part of the problem actually with that is that it's a wee bit slow to react on slowing down, and of course you get scooped as the car slowing down if you didn't intervene yourself. But certainly coming out of a 30 zone or 40 zone into national speed limit, the car will bring you up to 60 miles an hour. That's pretty handy. Okay, I suppose it's time to talk about the name Mustang. And some of you thinking, what were Ford thinking? How dare they use Mustang? What does this possibly have in common with the coupe? Is it made? Is it built in Flat Rock, Detroit? No. Does it have a Coyote 5-litre V8? No. But what Ford have done is they've looked at this and said, well, it's a 40k plus car. It's at a totally different price point to a Kuga or Puma or whatever else they have in the range, and its standard of equipment and finish and development and all the rest, it's totally different. Actually, I think these cars are built in Mexico and are going to be built in China as well, because it's battery based production facility, completely different to their internal combustion cars. But Ford have used that name to mean premium and prestige. I suppose like they tried to use the Vignale or Vignale or whatever they had, which I don't really know how much that caught on, but I think they were right to do that. I think it makes the car seem a bit more special. There's no blue oval everywhere. Just try to set that apart from what they normally do, so I can deal with it. And look, Porsche did it with a Taycan. They called it the Turbo. We all got on board with that in the end, or we didn't. We just ignored it and focused on the car rather than the name. So I think if you look past that, I think Ford have built a great family battery electric SUV, and that's quite enjoyable. It's really easy to live with and has loads of features, has great range. Speaking of the range, so of course it's the normal type of things you'd expect, like you can get a rear-wheel drive only, then you can get a long-range version of that, and then you get all-wheel drive and then the all-wheel drive long-range version, which this first edition is based off. But the long-range rear-wheel drive single motor has a range of up to 379 miles. Now, even if it did real world 300 miles, that's really, really good. That's a good 20, 30, 50 miles more than my internal combustion GR Yaris can do. Like 300 miles, you can go to anywhere in Northern Ireland and back. You could go to Dublin and back comfortably without a charge. And on a journey like that, you can have stopped anyway, you'll get a charge. But range anxiety just becomes less of an issue now. This one here, even with mid 200s real world, I think is pretty impressive. So yeah, good job Ford. Come down to Belfast historic area of the shipyards, the Titanic Quarter, just to tell you a bit about the options that you can get on these Mustangs, because these are really well loaded from the factory. So first of all, the basic car, it's about 41k. That will get you the rear-wheel drive standard range car, and it comes with 18s. This one has 19s, but 18-inch wheels, LED reflector headlamps like this, the LED tail lights, a la coming from the coupe, from the Mustang. I'm just reading from the list because there's that much. So you get body coloured bumpers, you get heated mirrors, you get the wheel arches all in black, you get this front grille design, they say, is an option as well. You get privacy glass, you get heated front seats, heated steering wheel. The heated steering wheel is fantastic. The front seats are manual adjustment. They're electric in this car, but the basic car, they are manual adjustment. You get all the screens as per this, and you get the wireless charging as well for the phone. You get keyless entry, adaptive cruise, front rear parking sensors, all the sort of driver aids, rear view camera. You get the front is in all of them. Selectable drive modes, one pedal driving, dual zone climate, lane keeping, alarm, charging cable. And the basic car only gets 115 kilowatt charging. I think this one has 150. And when I was charging the other day in IKEA, I got a healthy 120 kilowatts. I was charging for about 20 minutes, and I can't remember, it was in the range of 80 to 100 miles range. I'll see if I can find that and check that out. So 41330 on the road for the base rear-wheel drive car. And then if you went for the extended range, and this is the car with the huge range, 379 miles, and it is about 50k, and it comes with the pano roof, 360-degree cameras, electric tailgate, B&O sound system, and advanced park assist, and body coloured mirrors as well. The black and the grey looks really well in this car. Then you go up to the all-wheel drive cars. So the standard range all-wheel drive, it's 46.5 grand, and fairly similar spec to the standard car, but it gets the 19-inch wheels, red calipers, adaptive headlamps rather than the ordinary LED headlamps, piano black arches like this car, and it gets power seats like it's a dark headliner. Then you go up again, you get the extended range all-wheel drive car, and it has everything that I've mentioned, including the 360-degree camera, hands-free tailgate, B&O sounds, the full pano roof, and it jumps to 57. Now, this is the first edition car, so the first edition has a few more bits and pieces. So it was 58. I don't know if they're still available. Check with Ford. With 58 grand, that gets you some special colours as well. So you get a special Sensico trim inside with blue or red stitching, but you can get it in lovely colours. So this one here is the carbonised grey, as it's called. You can get it in that cracker grabber blue colour or rapid red as well. And then there's the big one, the GT. So they're doing a GT model, which is obviously out there to compete with the likes of the Tesla Model 3 Performance, and it's 487 PS, so 480 brakes in and around, 20-inch wheels, huge brakes, big lip mouldings, 860 newton meters of torque, 3.5 to 60. It's going to be awesome, and I really hope to get to drive that as well. So yeah, I would just like to say thanks to Trust Ford in Mollusk. They have this car as a demonstrator at the moment. Definitely check it out if you're in the market for an EV. I'll be doing an article on RMS Motoring if you want, able to get a finance quote put together there and some static shots and all the rest. I took it into the Cathedral Court earlier on to get some photos. Car's really striking looking car. I think it's fantastic looking. EVs should be great looking. Well done, Ford. Great job.